I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Obviously I sound a little different. I'm recovering from a little COVID bout, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah, yeah. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. Today is like the first day where I feel like I'm turning the corner.
Okay. Have
But
you
nature of the business.
yeah, have you had it before?
I had it once,
Okay.
um, probably twice if we're being honest. Like it's like you feel like you had it, but it's like I'm still testing negative for whatever reason. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's no fun. But
For sure.
kind of is what it is. But I'm happy you're here. I'm happy we were able to finally do this. I know we had to reschedule a few times,
Same, yeah. Very, very happy to be here.
but also I didn't note that you were also on my buddy Tim's podcast. Better yet,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So it's good to have that shared commonality. I feel like there's been a few crossovers there, and you're buddies with a lot of friends of mine. Mr. Goblin, I know we just did a half court session. Your friends, Devin from Monica.
Mhm.
I feel like there's a lot of shared interest there. So glad
Definitely.
you're on, and also congrats on the championship.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure it feels good, and we'll definitely get into that. But the first thing I like to ask when people come on here is a little tip-off question. I'd like to know what you're currently listening to.
Um, I started listening to, well, there's two things. Two things as far as bands are concerned. I'm listening to the new JRCG record.
Okay.
Just came out, and I am listening to just listen to the new Spirit of the Beehive record.
That's a good one.
So yeah, just people in that I've had and then yeah, I've been listening to some classical music. I've found out that Apple Music has like a classical app that's
Oh,
connected
cool.
to it. It's pretty sweet. And so I listened to this very interesting composer Martinu. It's like I think it's like Borislav Martinu. I think he's a Hungarian guy.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
Nice.
yeah, that's where I've been at.
Yeah, that Spirit of the Beehive record's really good, and I'm excited every time they put out new music. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, same. It's very cool.
Um, and then one other thing we've been doing, lately on this podcast is I've kind of started this playlist that we just keep building a song recommendation from every guest. And I
Mm.
don't know if there's a song you want to add to this playlist, whether it's from one of those bands you mentioned or something different, but like a song that you just want people to hear.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I were to, and I don't know, it's so the name of the record, the JRCG record is Grim Iconic, and it's the first song off of that. So
Got
I
it.
what the I don't know what the name of the song is.
I think it is the self-titled Grim Iconic.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I'll add that one to the list. And I'm excited to check that out. I haven't heard that one yet. So
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I think I'm gonna see them on Friday in Providence because they're
cool.
playing in Boston, but we'll be on tour. So
Yeah, yeah. What's the kind of vibe of them?
mm, there's like you ever listen to the band Beak?
I think so.
It's like it's the drummer Portishead.
Okay.
They're a really cool band. And they do a lot of like kraut rock
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And I feel like the JRCG record is like a more just like an edgier version of that, or it reminds me of that anyways. I'm sure that there's probably um better adjectives I could use to try to articulate what's going on and with both of those bands really, but that's the best I can come up with
Got it.
shorthanded.
Cool. Um, well, I guess I'd like to hear like what's Pile been up to? I guess like are you guys making anything new? I feel like it seems like you're kind of consistently putting stuff out. Last album I know came out last year, but I'm hoping there's something new coming out.
For sure. Yeah. Well, so we're going on tour in a couple of weeks, and that's both in places that we didn't hit on the tour of the last record, but at this point, we've been working on new stuff. So
Mhm.
also going to be to sort of try out the things we've been working on. So we'll be doing that, and then we'll be back for a month to sort of regroup and reassess where things are at with the material, and then we're going to go in to record it. So it's another full length,
Cool.
and yeah, just kind of just yeah, straight ahead, just continue to work, which is great. It's great. Everyone's still pretty psyched to do this thing. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, just another record.
I the one thing I feel like I've noticed, over the years is you've definitely done a couple of like sessions where it's kind of you've done even tours as well where it's like you like kind of solo versus you as like as a part of a full band. And with the type of music that you make under as Pile, it's like heavier. How do you kind of is it a challenge to figure out those more stripped down versions when you do solo stuff versus the full band experience?
It can be, but I think um I don't know if it is a challenge, it's one that I enjoy because
Yeah.
also the process of writing things, I have the freedom now to think of it really in like three different contexts,
Hmm.
which how does it work with the band? How do I want it to present on a recording? And what could I do if I was just playing by myself? So it's cool to think about it in that way. And I don't know. I think a lot of just like I think of like folk songs and things like that, where it's just kind of chords and lyrical melody. And there's any number of ways that you play it on piano, you can play it on guitar, you can play it
Sure.
with section, whatever. So I like kind of trying to think about songs in that way. And then also, for the recording part of it, it's really just what is going to sound the coolest. And then for the band stuff, is like what is going to be the most fun for us to play and hopefully the most fun to watch. So
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Does it feel like, when you start writing a song, I'm sure you're starting in the most kind of stripped down, simplest way, and then you build it up. But do you feel like if you do these versions, you're going back to the kind of the original, or are you like almost reworking it to become a new, almost like a new demo?
well, I think sometimes I may be working on something in a pretty stripped down, like just on an acoustic guitar.
Hmm.
That sometimes the idea is like accompanied by like the imagination of like, well, I hear drums on this. Like I wouldn't be pursuing it if I didn't hear that drum part.
Sure.
So it can start there. But then yeah, sometimes then seeing well, it's like sometimes I'll work on songs like that and then going backwards is like not possible because that like imaginative part that wasn't even really there to begin with. It's like, well, I can't really present it without that thing.
True.
So um and then there are some cases where it's I definitely as time has gone on I've felt pretty uh rigid, I would say, about being
Hmm.
like this is the song and this is how it's going. But I'm in a place now where it's like I could kind of reimagine them and call it the same song and someone could hear it and be like, that is absolutely not the same song. But
Right.
uh, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
Uh,
feel like people kind of have different versions of their songs all the time. I know like Conor Oberst has had reimaginings of his songs and acoustic songs and piano songs, whatever.
mhm.
Um, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's exciting. Is there a kind of a timeline on a new Pile record, or is it still in progress?
Yeah. I mean, it's wild how far out we have to plan. So it's gonna be out in August of next year.
Oh, okay, got it.
There's gonna be
Cool.
some time for sure. We got a bunch of stuff that that I'm excited to announce in the meantime, just like some shows and tours and
Hmm.
stuff. Um, that'll be cool. But yeah, just gonna work on this material um and yeah, try to get our act together for all the plans that we have set for ourselves for the next year.
Awesome. Um, well, I don't really have a good segue for this, but I'd like to talk basketball.
Sure, absolutely.
um, so it's obviously it's been a good year for you because you are a Boston native and a Celtics fan.
I am. I am. It does feel like a bit of which is crazy to even think about. I also wonder if the standards are different, but I do feel like a bit of a fair weather fan in Boston. Like I'm always, you know, I always root for the home team, but I'm not as like devoted as
Sure.
a lot of people here. But again, the standards might be different just because this is like the city feels like it's very much the foundation of it being a place on a map. It's like
Right.
these sports teams. So, um, yeah, I mean, this
Were you engaged in this past season though?
a little
Yeah.
bit. I went to a game. They played the Thunder, and they just wiped the floor with them. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Um, but yeah, they were really fun to watch when I did see them. Um, and my era was really like the Antoine Walker, Paul
Yeah.
Pierce era, but they were a pretty heartbreaking team. I mean, they were good, but they always like the Nets were their like arch nemesis.
Hmm.
So I've fallen. I feel like part of it is just the change of TV and also my drinking habits. So it's
Okay.
like and I was always down to watch sports, but it kind of depends on who I'm with.
Sure.
Like if there's somebody that's like I love watching basketball, absolutely,
Yeah.
and watch basketball
I
and
mean, I
get
feel like sports are such a communal thing, you know?
and I can yeah, it's very easy to just like become invested.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean my relationship to basketball because I grew up playing, so that's really
Sure.
my heart is, and I think that's also what kind of helped get me a little into the season. I mean, it was just a sort of a confluence of things to then have the Celtics be as good as they are, and
Mhm.
also I started playing in like an adult league this year,
Oh, sweet.
which was amazing. Um, so amazing, in fact, that I probably went like a little too hard. Uh,
It can get scary though, you know, like I am noticing too, like every year that goes by and I get on the court, I feel like basketball is one sport where like you can seriously hurt yourself.
most definitely, yeah. I think it was just like the knees and
Yeah.
everything. So I mean, I've been trying to honestly because I had such a good time. This past winter and the Y just like walking distance down the street from me. It was like,
Mhm.
oh, we have like a co-ed league, and I was like, oh, it sounds good. Like you know, it's wintertime, it's cold, it's like struggle with like mental health. I was like, maybe this would be like a good thing. And it was unbelievable. It was awesome. Just like I love just like showing up and playing basketball with people. I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And you connect with people that you would never come across or interact with in that way in any other capacity in your life. And you get to be like competitive and like show a side of yourself that you really also don't like. Music occupies some of that space, but it's like it's still not the same. And
Mhm.
that competitive part of me, which I didn't even think I was that competitive, but I think again it's context because growing up like I played and my dad was a coach.
Okay.
He was like one of six kids, and him and his three brothers all played on the same team, and they like won their like high school championship in Vermont like 4 years in a row or something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So it's like very like sports oriented. When I started playing, my dad was like, "I'm gonna coach," and like he didn't say it this way, but he was like, "You're not very good, but like you can be on the team, but you have to work really, really hard." And I was like, "All right, I'm down." And that's how I started playing. And I feel like through high school, like I stopped playing in sophomore year because I started smoking weed and getting into music. Um, but I still played and like, you know, just like pickup games and everything. And
Yeah.
that was such a, I mean, throughout really, my teens and 20s and into my 30s, just like playing pickup games with like whoever was just like some of the most rewarding
Hmm.
experiences, really, honestly, of my life. I think just playing ball and meeting people. Uh,
Yeah.
it's
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. And I
so.
feel like, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, so on like the professional side of things, like I've always like kind of engaged with that world, but it's really like the game itself that I've been very in love with.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, me personally, like, I'm someone who like, I'm never consistent with wanting to like, you know, do the whole gym thing and work out, but playing basketball is easily my favorite form of working out because it kind of does it all. It's like amazing cardio, and
Mhm.
it's just like it's literally just it's so fun to do. So um it's just, yeah, it's very kind of natural to get back in and want to do it.
For sure. Yeah, actually, so the thing now for me, because that league was so just like uh invigorating, and at the end of the season, they had another season too, but like I was like, I'm getting rocked every week. That was the thing too. I'm 6 foot, 6'1". I
Okay.
sh- they're like, we're going for the tip, and they all look at me. I was like, I'm like the guy on the team, so I'm there. I'm I'm just getting banged around in the paint. It's like, and that is not what I'm used to. But I was like, whatever, I'll do it. And I like played hard and everything. So I was
Mhm.
just beat up. So I'm trying now to go to the gym to like train to be like, all right, I gotta like get my knee strong. I gotta get it. So I have hope. I haven't like given up on it yet. I'm trying to just like, you know, make sure that I've recuperated and also am like paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm also working on my threes because I'm not trying to hang out in the paint all day. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's today's game, right? You got to stretch it out.
it's true. It's true.
uh, yeah, and you're probably going against people like me. I'm 6'5", so
Damn.
you're probably guarding big boys like myself and just getting beat up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That is exactly what's happening.
So, are these leagues like, what's the level of competition? Like, is it just um you're not getting like, former JUCO players out there, are you? Or
No, 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 no. It's like it's so that it's actually it's pretty fun. So it's like kind of a perfect way to get back into playing because it was
Mhm.
like it's competitive and like, but it's you know people are really just going out there to have a good time, but they want to
Yeah,
win.
sure.
But there are other leagues, and so at the Y, I would go on off days like in the morning and go shoot around. And one of the days, uh, this group of kids showed up, and they're probably like 10 plus years younger than I am. And I started playing with them, and they could play. They were good.
Yeah.
Uh, and I held my own, but there was one dude who was a little bit taller than me, and he was just built. And I got chatting with him just about playing the leagues, and he was
Mhm.
like playing on a different day, and I was like, yeah, and he was also by far the best player out there. I was like, yeah, how's the league you're playing? He's like, it's kind of a bummer. It's like the leagues are a bit like uh they're not even. So, it's like my team's like 0 and 10. I was like, if your team's 0 and 10, then I have absolutely no business being in that league.
Right, right.
Um,
Are people bringing in like ringers in that league or something?
I think it's well, because so where I live is like right on BC campus.
Okay.
So there's a lot of like either people that, went to school there or like still
Yeah,
live in the neighborhood and are just, like just like D1 players that are going in, or it's like off season stuff. So yeah,
sure.
I'm not trying to do that.
I think, yeah, we'll stick with the level we're at. Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
But that's awesome, dude. I feel like you might be the first person on the podcast who like still is like regularly kind of playing basketball. I've had some people who played a little in college and who play, hoop with like, musicians every now and then, but seems like pickup ball is like your thing.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's great. I think Yeah, there's something about it too, because it was also like in school, just the culture of it was just so very different.
Yeah.
And and then growing up and being like, we're just gonna go and just see what happens. And if it's just like no one's there, then you're just like hanging out at the court, and
Yeah.
that's pretty nice too, especially like
Right.
it's like a summer night in Boston. So it's like, yeah, and I think, yeah, there's just like a my relationship to basketball at this point. I grew up on like Slam magazine, and I think so when I was like really young, like my first aspiration was like I wanted to be like an animator. I like
Oh,
car
nice.
I like Disney movies and shit. And I could draw and I liked drawing. And then as I got older, I got into basketball. And then that passion of drawing transformed into I want to design sneakers,
Oh, sick.
because I just got into like I just basketball shoes. Just like
Yeah.
and it was like a part of myself that I think, because of getting into music, just I would still play every now and then, but like even thinking about watching basketball or like the culture of it at all is just so very disparate from the world that I was going into, and just like
Hmm.
playing weirdo rock music. So but then recently I sort of like came to it. I was like, I've always wanted a pair of Jordan 12s. And um so yeah, I got a pair like a year ago.
Oh, hell yeah.
um yeah,
Are those the shoes that like made you want to design shoes?
they were one of them. I think it was maybe the one that has stood the test of time for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of them I've liked. Like I like the Penny Hardaways, the blue one.
Yes. The
Uh,
wavy ones, yeah.
yeah, but I couldn't. I think also with the Jordan 12s, there's so many different varieties. I got like the all black ones, so those can kind of go.
Hmm.
Worn those to like weddings, and it's like
Yeah.
so. But yeah, I that was always. I thought it was just such a. it sounds weird to say, but such a time to grow up. It felt like that was such a. I remember it was like kind of the same thing as like as music, where my
Yeah.
parents were those like those. How could you ever wear those things? Those things are so ugly, and I was like, those are the coolest things I've ever seen.
Right.
Um,
I mean, yeah, it's like honestly in the early 90s and late 80s, like that's sneaker culture was invented by basketball. Like, and it was like we like in real time, you got to like see it happen, and like even throughout the game, Allen Iverson kind of popularizing like the way people wear accessories and stuff like that. And like uh basketball has influenced culture time over time.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
But super cool. Yeah. And for the shoes for me, and the first pair I remember really, I was a little later, but I the T Max. I loved the T Max shoes. They were Adidas ones, and I had a pair. I had a pair of blue T Max, despite my school having like green and gold colors that like didn't match at all. But I had to get
For sure, for sure. Yeah.
it.
No, Adidas had some nice ones too. I remember when Kobe, that was like when he was first drafted. I remember, yeah, again, getting all the Slam magazines. He had
Yeah.
yeah, his whole look and his whole vibe when he got drafted was awesome.
Hmm.
I mean, also
For
just
sure.
throughout his career, just being a killer. But
And the another pair of shoes that I thought were really, really crazy was the Shaq Reeboks with the big like circles. You remember those? They're like black and white, like circles that kind of radiated out.
okay, oh yes, yes, absolutely, yes, yeah, with the Reebok logo, and then yeah,
Yep. So wild.
yeah, yeah.
Were you like a trading card guy growing up?
No, so I think it was like the very early on, and not for too long. So I
Yeah.
had like I think they were called like the hoops. It's like 1990. There's gray basketball cards with the archway on them. Um,
I
but
think
those
uh I
are
think you might be referring to these.
Big time. Absolutely. Most definitely.
I have a couple random packs just like sitting on my desk here, and it's a nice throwback to just see some random ass players every now and then.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Dude, I haven't thought about Sam Perkins. I'm sure you got a Gill in there.
Oh yeah, 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 for sure. I got a Olajuwon in here, a lot of Divock, you know, it's good stuff. Um, cool. Yeah, yeah. Those, I mean, cards. I never was a huge collector too. I know my brothers had some, and I always like looking at them. But I remember there was like a Fleer metal series that they had. It was like reflective, and they were doing these crazy things like surfing, and they had like metallic arms and stuff.
Oh, I do
It was
remember.
very like sci-fi looking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they went wild. And I remember Beckett magazines when you would get to see like how much all of them were worth
Oh yeah, yeah.
and there was never much. It was never
They've made their comeback. The trading cards are very hot right now.
really.
Yes.
Oh,
Probably more so baseball cards, but I'm sure all around they're kind of spiking a little bit.
you know,
Um,
it's funny because my dad had a bunch of like baseball cards. I don't know if it was basketball cards too, but he had some trading cards. And when he was growing up, his his mother, my grandmother, just threw him out. And he always like was so just like, oh, that was that was my retirement, whatever. So because of that, I'm pretty sure I think my parents still have all of the trading cards. I mean, there's probably in pretty rough shape.
yeah.
So I doubt they're worth anything, but it would be fun to go through at some point because I'm certain I know if my dad had anything to say about it that those cards are staying in the attic.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, my dad for me and my two brothers for each year we were born, he bought the entire Topps baseball series for that year.
Oh, wow.
And like this past year, found them and gave them to us, and I opened it up and they're all like curved.
Yeah,
I'm like, cool. Well, you know, it's still cool to look through them and stuff, but
sure.
you know, it got like a little Rafael Palmeiro rookie card in there and stuff like that. So,
Nice.
um, cool. So as far as the Celtics,
Hmm.
um, growing up, you said you were like with like your highlight team was like the Paul Pierce, Antoine Walker era, and you mean like before the big three, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it was like, and into the big three. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
um, I actually I got to meet and also just to clarify, which I know that we're talking the second big three. Uh,
Talking KG and Ray Allen and yeah,
yeah, I actually met. So I worked at a gas station in Concord, Massachusetts, and I was listening to, and I knew that Kevin Garnett lived in Concord, Massachusetts,
Hmm,
and I was, hoping that one day yeah, he would just like roll in, but I would sometimes listen to the games on the radio because it would just get pretty slow at a certain point.
sure.
And they played the Knicks, and I think it it was they beat the Knicks by and both those teams super old. They've been in the
Sure.
league forever, and it was the biggest blowout of the Celtics to the Knicks of all time or
Wow.
something. And that night, uh, I'm sitting down on a milk crate behind the cash register. So, and I hear the bell of the door open, and then I can never see anyone who's like actually coming in the door, and just his head comes from like under the door frame, and he just yeah he bought a gallon of water and a Twix. Yeah, yeah, I was able to tell him good game.
Damn.
So
And that was the night they blew out the Knicks.
that was the night they blew out the Knicks. So I could
He was
see.
riding high, I'm sure.
Exactly. It's just like I'm just gonna go where the people are.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that was cool. But I loved watching that team, and it was such a sure thing that they
Hmm.
were gonna win. Like, they were just so dominant.
I mean, as a I'm a Bulls fan, and that series in 2009, that was after they already won, but man, that was like one of the best playoff series like I've ever watched. Like it was so intense.
Yeah.
There was so much back and forth. I remember Rondo and Kirk Heinrich like getting into it and like
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
tossed him into the scorers table a little bit.
yeah.
That was
Maybe
intense, and that was Ricky Derrick Rose too.
that's right. Yeah, I said I am. It's funny how memory works because yeah, when I heard that there was the three of them on the same team, I was like, oh, that they're absolutely going to win. But yeah, I'm sure that there were some nail biters along the way. That's just like,
Mhm.
uh, but yeah.
Cool. So the other thing I kind of had, and I shot you that email initially, was doing a little game called Musician Matchups. And just the goal is we got a couple players and let's kind of compare our answers, but what is the musical comp for some of these players?
So I brought this to practice. Alex, our bass player, he's probably if you want to talk basketball and the league as it is currently, and kind of even over the past like 20 years,
Mhm.
you know, I know if you maybe having two members of Pile on the podcast is too much, but he would be a great person to talk to. And so he was
Sick.
I wanted to ask. I really wanted to just get on the podcast just to talk about the game itself, just because
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. Also, have you read the book There's Always This Year?
I actually haven't, no.
Okay, it's this writer Hanif Abdurraqib, I believe.
Yes, okay. So Hanif's actually been on the podcast before.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, it was for a we did like a fantasy draft of sub pop artists.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, that was fun. I had, Evan from Into It Over It and Julia from Rat Boys and um yeah, that was a fun one, but Hanif is dude, he is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan. I've yeah, never met him before, but I that book I loved. And
Yeah.
anyways, it spoke to me and just like how just thinking about.
I that's definitely high on my read list. I mean, a lot of his stuff is very good, and what I appreciate about him so much too is the range of stuff that he can talk about and kind of bring poetry to.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah.
Um,
It's a beautiful book.
for sure. Cool.
But yeah, so as far as the matchup is concerned,
Yes.
I did there were a few. I mean, Tatum was a tough one because this it was like he is obviously very good, but he's also like a little corny.
So
So
yeah, let's go down the line then. Let's start with Jason Tatum.
okay,
So let me know how you're feeling. Yeah.
I don't think that we were even really able to like land land one. Like that wasn't because there's some that we have that are like they don't really fit, but they fit
Mhm.
in. And I think Jason Tatum was one that we were not able to come up with. But it was basically like he's really good, but he is like he's can be a little cringy at times.
Yeah. I I went that direction as well. So my pick for this one is that he's very popular, can be a little corny. Um, I can see the appeal for other people, but it's just not for me.
Yeah.
The 1975.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, I think that I picked or I said like 21 Pilots or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's like a and honestly, if you played either one of those bands, I would easily confuse the one with the other. I don't know. I'm like, um, but
I
yeah,
just, for me, like the 1975, like I feel like it's a lot like the Killers or something like that. And a lot of people like them, and I can't fault people for liking them. Uh, but it's just not for me. And to me, it was a little corny at times.
fair enough. Yeah, I think I've heard some things about the 1975 that sound like pretty interesting. That like they're, but I think upon hearing their music, I just yeah, it's not. I'm not connected with it.
Yeah.
Um,
But
it's a generous way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah, sure. But moving down the list, Let's go to KG.
Okay, so KG, I mean, it would just had to be so also incredible players. So you have to have that.
True.
The thing that you must have is like someone who's talking shit. And
Yeah.
so I mean, I think for that it was like Oasis.
Oh, there you go. And relevance too.
Right, right, exactly. So it was like that was all I could think of. It's not a perfect fit, but it was just like honestly, um, I mean, the stuff that comes out of that band's mouth is just
Yeah.
so um
That's a good one though. I think that, and it definitely fits right in right now.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I also went with, you definitely got to be talking shit, very intense. Um, KG is like Henry Rollins,
Oh, damn.
right?
I yeah,
Maybe
def
maybe he doesn't talk enough shit, but I think the intensity is absolutely there.
absolutely. I think there's something about yeah, the intensity is absolutely there. That's an interesting
Because I mean, Henry Rollins he'll go in the crowd and punch you with the mic, like
for sure. But the thing is, I feel like um and I don't know, this might just be like one I my perception of him is that he's like a dude that just kind of like got fucked with one too many times
yeah.
and he became this character where he's just like
Hmm.
for anything. And Kevin Garnett strikes me as someone who is just like looking for trouble, you know?
True.
Um,
And especially because I feel like there's a lot of videos out there where like KG was the guy who'll like talk shit, get in people's face, but occasionally someone will like not be scared of him and he will back off. Like I'm trying to remember who exactly it was, but I want to say it was like James Johnson was one of those people. There are certain people in the NBA who you do not want to mess with, and I feel like those people were not scared at all of KG.
that is very funny. I think I remember seeing some clip of like Richard Jefferson talking about like I think it was specifically Kevin Garnett and Paul,
Hmm.
and it was just like very genuine. Like they're not good people.
Yeah.
Um,
There was actually a clip that surfaced recently. It was an interview with Paul Pierce telling a story about guarding Dirk, where Dirk was destroying KG basically,
hmm.
and KG was like, "Dude, he called me the N word," and he's like, "No, he didn't. I was right there." Paul Pierce, it's just KG was just getting mad about it. Accused Dirk of being racist just for because he was getting his ass beat.
Just to like psych.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a good one. All right, so third one on the list, Bill
Mhm.
Russell.
So this one, I know that the band would disagree with me on
Mhm.
one that we did align with one of them that I kind of we both said this name first, and then the more I thought about it afterwards, I was like maybe this also, but someone that it needs someone that's like consistently been good and is like uh also like kind of overlooked. Like I know that he has like a ton of championships, and it's like he's very clearly got but it's just there's just like something about I mean, at least in Boston too, it just like wasn't
Sure.
respected. So I thought of someone like the Kinks, where it's like
Cool. Yeah,
they have like a ton of hits, but they're not like the Beatles, you know what I
that's
mean?
true.
But then there's also like the activism part of it, and that Bill Russell had. So I was like, maybe someone like Bob Dylan, because Bob Dylan wrote so many songs and like so many hits over the years.
Mhm.
But like Bill Russell's like championships over the years and the activism part. But I mean, I don't know. Those were the two.
Yeah, yeah. I
That,
mean, Bill Russell is he's a Mount Rushmore NBA guy. I believe he's the most winning, like the winningest player in NBA history. So, um, that Bob Dylan, both of those track, honestly. Um, but especially for the era too. I mean, it feels like you kept to the era a little bit.
yeah.
Um, for me, so I went with I kept it Boston,
Okay.
kind of because he is like Boston royalty. and
Big.
and I kept it to like in the indie rock world, who is Boston royalty, and I went with the Pixies.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I feel like the Pixies are this, they've doing it for a long, long time, consistent, and I feel like they are kind of like, when you think of as a broad genre of indie rock, like they're kind of up there, you know.
Yeah, legendary. Yeah.
And then lastly, we've got Ray Allen. Could be
So
a challenging one because he wasn't always known as a Celtic.
yeah, yeah. So this one was we didn't land with anything, but I know Alex communicated me. He's not a Ray Allen fan.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
He's like, I think I just don't like his that. I just don't like, he like he could get down with KG more than Ray Allen. Just like thought he
interesting.
kind of a like a too cool for school.
Okay, Ray Allen definitely changed his game when he came to the Celtics.
Hmm.
Because he was like the guy in Seattle and Milwaukee.
Hmm.
Um, but he became the clear kind of third option once he got to Boston, and he was more of that role player,
Hmm.
but like a prominent role player.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
But so for Ray Allen, you guys weren't able to come up with anything.
I think that he might have suggested one, and I was like, it was one that I was like, it feels like disrespectful.
The
But yeah, I don't we didn't land on one, no.
only thing I had was and I actually think it's kind of fun. So it's kind of what I was talking about. Like he was like kind of the number one guy in Seattle. Um, and then when he came to Boston, he kind of pivoted his role to a little bit of a different style.
Mhm.
So I went with Blake Schwarzenbach
Oh,
because Seattle was Jawbreaker, but Boston is Jesse Brazil. They're both still very good, just a little different.
that's good. Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, I you know what, it's one of those things where it's like, how can you pick one? It's like they're both so good in different ways. So I love Ray Allen as the 3-point kind of guy in Boston.
Mhm.
Like, but he could score in
For sure.
Seattle.
I mean, he was the marquee player in both of those spots.
My bad.
Mm, all good.
But I think that's all I got. It's been great talking hoops with you, man.
Likewise, Matt. Yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast. Very, very grateful.
Absolutely. Well, I'll catch you soon, man.
Yeah, man, and hope recovery continues.
Appreciate it.